You are watching Business Heroine TV for the entrepreneur who says she will and does. Join the Business Heroine community today at businessheroinemagazine.com. And now, tune into the show.
Welcome to our interview today. I'm Ann Perry, founder of Business Heroine, and we have a super cool guest today, Dr. Cynthia Miller. So Dr. Cynthia is a pioneer and groundbreaker in the fields of cellular transformation and deep transformative change. Her expertise really merges body, mind, and spirit for really powerful outcomes. And her specialty is empowering visionary women to build a new paradigm business to create massive wealth and experience luscious pleasure, all while transforming the world. So awesome. Dr. Cynthia is also an adventurer, a world traveler, an artist, a writer, and a photographer. And her background is, it's really varied and steeped in an innate love of nature, beauty, and art. And it's really her exploration of art that triggered an investigation into cellular change, which is her area of expertise, which also led her into a Ph.D. in the psychology of change and cellular transformation. Super fascinating. I can't wait for you to learn tons from Cynthia and see what cellular change has to do with your luscious wealth. So let's jump in. Thank you, Cynthia, for being here.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here with you, Anne, and the whole community that you've created.
Yeah, well, Cynthia is awesome. She does the most extraordinary work. I actually got to experience it, and maybe we'll get to touch on that a little bit later. But Cynthia, so you really specialize in rewiring women to receive wealth. How did you get into this field of work?
Well, back in 1974, I had a near-death experience, and then a couple of days later, I was sitting on the couch, and this bolt of energy came up my spine and out the top of my head. And I looked down on my arm and I could see inside my cells. And then I could see inside everybody's body.
Wow.
And that hasn't changed.
Wow.
So that's what led me to getting a Ph.D. because it was like, what's going on here? So I've been working with clients for over 30 years to rewire their neural programs to change their lives. And over that period, I keep learning more and more about how these programs influence our lives and our money.
That is amazing. Will you share a little bit more about that, your near-death experience, and then, kind of what happened when you all of a sudden, it sounds as if it's like you got this gift or this unique ability that all of a sudden appeared. So interesting. Will you tell us more?
Yeah. Well, the death experience, I had been in pain my whole life, and I was getting acupuncture treatment, and the doctor put needles in and took them out really quickly because I started feeling bad. And then that night I went into a coma, and then I went down the tunnel of light, and the whole classic.
Wow.
Near-death experience, looked down, could see my body on the bed, and I didn't want to come back, but I was told it was not my time. So I had to come back. So I was recovering from that. A few days later, this energy just shot up and out my head. It was like my entire world shifted from one breath to the next. And it's been a permanent shift.
Wow.
So at first it was very hard to function. And then I've learned how to function with it. And my seeing isn't as intense as it used to be. So now I just see inside people's bodies when I have permission, because I was really not liking seeing everybody on the street looking inside. It was way too much.
Yeah.
So now it's just when I'm doing work with people that we go inside and then we start to rewire the nervous system and your brain and how. So I see all these layers of patterns of what's happening in your body. So
Wow.
it's really exciting. I love it.
Yeah, that's really exciting. It's so interesting because you know, we talk about often in in Business Heroine and in interviews, there's this common thread, which is so many entrepreneurs that we talk to are so on purpose. Like there's almost like a calling to what they're doing, and it comes from either pain in the past or like a struggle, or a passion that was always there or emerged. And your story is so fascinating because it's like something just appeared. It wasn't there, and then it was there, and then it was really intense, and then refining that. But to do that for a purpose of actually rewiring women, and for to be open to receiving wealth in a bigger way. It's so awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
When I was really little, I decided I wanted to help change the world. I was about 5 and I made that decision. So this is definitely a piece in my contribution to assisting humanity to evolve.
Yeah. Oh, so awesome. So you wrote a book called Rewire for Luscious Wealth.
Yes.
And in that book, you talk about 2 types of self. There's your other self, and then there's your star self. So what is the difference between your other self and your star self, and why is it important to know about them?
So first off, there's your other self. And your other self is all the neural programs from when you're a tiny child. So this is how everybody is programmed. So when you're little, you absorb everything from your environment, and your brain hasn't developed enough to discern. So you take everything in as the truth. And this goes into all your subconscious programs. So by the time you're 6 or 7, whatever has happened in your life is basically what's running your life today. Plus ancient patterns from your family that get passed down in your lineage. So if you have, say, money issues in your family, those get passed down to you. So all that's what I call your other self. And that's how everybody is programmed. But research shows that we can consciously shift our neural programs. It's so exciting that there's all this research documenting all this work I've been doing all these years.
Yeah.
So what I'm seeing is what I call the other self. And your other self is
Your star self, or which one was the other self?
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
So your other self is what you come from.
Okay.
And what's evolving now is your star self.
Star self.
And your star self is based on your own purpose. And it's based on your soul. And it's coming from the truth of who you really are. Your other self is based on everybody else's opinions, and it's all based on fear. And it triggers the ancient part of your brain that is related to fear. So your star self is related to the newer parts of your brain, and it's your whole body. Your other self is basically just these neural programs that are running you, but they aren't connected with your true essence. And your star self is coming from your passion and your feminine energy, which is the part that creates, that gives life, the parts that's birthing this whole new world that we're creating together. So it's very exciting.
It's very exciting. So your work is really supporting women to awaken to their star self, or intentionally create their star self?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, so with our consciousness, we can shift those old neural programs and create new ones. And the new ones relate to your essence and why you're here and what your purpose is and your passion, so that all of you and all of your gifts come together in your business.
Yeah, so let's talk about star self and business and just business in general. How is business evolving? What's the new paradigm of business?
So we have the old business model, which is really based on fear, and it's the male dominant model, and it's based on basically using just your left brain. It's kind of like cuts out the rest of your body, cuts out your emotions, it cuts out feminine intuition and some levels of creativity. And so that's kind of what has created the world as we know it today. And what I'm seeing is there's this whole new emergence of women who are creating business from what I call the new paradigm. And that's where you bring in your luscious delight and you bring in your passion and you bring in your emotion and you bring in all your gifts to create this business. So it's very creative and flowing rather than linear and you follow these exact rules. Mm-hmm. There are no rules in this new business paradigm. The rules come from deep within your body, down in your feminine womb, down in your belly. And that's the part that informs you of what your next steps are. And it comes up through and comes out your heart in this beaming light of excitement and creativity. And so your whole business takes on this whole new form that is not seen in the old business model.
I love that. And, that really puts words to what I admire so much about the business heroines that we've featured in the magazines is exactly what you're talking about. It's almost hard to put words to, but it's just this creativity and creating paths that weren't there before and following intuition and, being really authentic and self-expressed, even if it's like, not very businessy, in quotes. But it's working and it is generating wealth and it's serving people in a huge way. That's so cool. I love hearing how you describe that.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So tell us more. As women, how do our neural programs, because I know you rewire our neural programs. How do our neural programs influence our money and our wealth?
Well, as women, there's quite a few neural programs that are really common to women. One of them is that you're not worthy, you're not good enough. Mm-hmm. And this is all your other self. So the way the other self is everybody's influencing you. So you can't be perfect for everyone else. You're never good enough to be what everybody wants you to be. Mm-hmm. And your star self, who you are, is what you want to be. Mm-hmm. And so from this new star self, this whole not good enough starts to shift because you are good enough inside. You're absolutely worthy. Mm-hmm. But there are these ancient programs negating women. Mm-hmm. And so those we have to go in and unwind and start to shift. And your self-worth is so tied into your income. If you don't feel worthy, you aren't going to earn a lot of money. Mm-hmm. It's just bottom line. You can do all these different business programs or marketing programs, but they aren't going to work if deep inside in your subconscious, you don't feel worthy enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's the other big piece is women have been hiding their gifts for centuries just to keep them safe. And down in your feminine belly, you have all these amazing gifts. Gifts of healing, gifts of whatever your unique business is about, your creativity. Yeah. That's why the new paradigm, each woman is creating her own business from these deep hidden gifts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so coming out of hiding is another thing that it's like, ooh, is it safe for me to really step up and be myself
Yeah.
rather than having to kind of shield and present what you think everybody wants?
Totally. Well, just
Yeah,
what you shared at the beginning of our conversation today, this near-death experience, and then all of a sudden this gift that came out of it that was even overwhelming to you, and it's a healing gift, and it's transforming, a paradigm and a consciousness. But not too long ago, you would have been, burned at the stake for that. you
oh, I
know,
know.
I
I
mean,
know.
really, I mean, to be able to say that in a business interview is a really courageous way of coming out of hiding. To be able to say, this is this gift I have. It doesn't fit into the box of what's quote unquote normal or expected. Um,
Right.
but to
Yeah.
really own it and put it out in the world and serve people with it.
Yeah, I didn't tell people about it for years. I saw clients and they'd come to me and we'd start working and they'd have miraculous results. But, I wasn't really letting everybody know everything I could see until they got to know me,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't advertise anything.
Right.
It's all word of mouth because the results were amazing. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you came out of hiding.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, writing this book was a big step to come out of, my next step of coming out of hiding. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you've mentioned a few times that you've talked about your feminine womb, the belly. You've mentioned that a few times. Um, and I want to hear more about that and what that has to do with wealth and the feminine way of attracting and manifesting money and, money, but also just our power. Like I'm just curious, what is up with the feminine womb?
Well, that's our source of creativity. And that's where we birth. We give birth. I mean, we give birth to babies, but we give birth to our business that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also noticed that there's the saying, behind every great man, there's a woman. And what I've noticed is that the woman was holding this womb for the man's wealth, but women have never been acknowledged for that.
Interesting.
So when we create wealth in this feminine way, what you do is you go inside your body and you ask, what is the steps to take? What do I need to do today? What does this feminine creativity want? How does that want to get expressed? How do I want to birth my next steps? And then you'll get very clear guidance. Call this person, do this. And sometimes it's very illogical. Oh, go to the park today.
Mm-hmm.
Or something like that. And then you'll run into someone. And so you start learning to tune in and trust that, oh, today I just need to rest.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you're resting, you'll have this whole beautiful vision come. When your mind would have said, oh no, I need to sit at the computer all day and work. But that's not how the information arrives sometimes. So it's about tuning into who you really are, tuning into your essence, because that part is the part that really knows. And as you do that, then all the steps unfold. And there's like synchronicity starts to occur. Maybe you'll go to the park and run into someone and they know someone, and it's like these doors magically start to open up. That would not have occurred if you had just been in your little logical mind of see. Yeah, so it's a very exciting way.
It is. And I want to share a personal story because I got to have a session with you and it was amazing. It was interesting on some things that are just kind of fascinating to me. Like, we were focusing on what was going on in my body. We did a virtual session over the phone.
Right.
And I remember one of the areas of my body that wanted attention was my wrists. And
Right.
I remember you said that your wrists when you have pain in your wrist or just whatever wrist stuff, that's a lot of times ancient energy, or has been passed down through generations or through heritage or past stuff, old stuff. And so this vision that came when we were working on me was kind of untangling, almost like a bunch of telephone wires that are all tangled in a ball, or like when your necklace gets all knotted up. It was kind of untangling that. And then it was crazy. For the next week, probably, my wrist stopped hurting, first of all, because I had been having kind of some wrist pain. My wrist stopped hurting, and then, but they kept popping, like cracking, just randomly. And then that stopped after a couple weeks. It was so interesting. But what I also wanted to share, that was a little bit of a tangent, but I just think it was so cool. But the other thing is, we were focused on this womb area, and it was a very fascinating session with you, because I don't know if I can say what exactly happened, but there was definitely a shift. And one of the insights that came to me after working with you is very much what you were just talking about with the things that maybe don't make logical sense, and following that intuition and tapping into it. Because a very clear message that I received was follow the magic, because have been working really, really hard, and it's almost like there's these opportunities coming and these really cool things happening that aren't necessarily directly tied to the things that need to get done because they're supposed to get done in a linear way. And I don't even see necessarily the direct connection, but it's like, how did that come into my life? It's like magical. And so the insight that I got was follow the magic. It's like, don't worry about the structure or what's supposed to be getting done. Follow the magic, and things will unfold. And ever since I've been doing that, like consciously deciding to follow the magic, things have just felt a lot more fluid, easy. Things are getting done, ironically, but it's just, they're sort of happening either on their own or just more naturally, or they're unfolding in a smoother way. So I just wanted to share that as a little testament to what you're saying. It's very wise.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah, everything gets done, but just not in the way that I think it should get done.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and it's much more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does your life look like now that you've tapped into your own, rewired your own patterns and for Luscious Wealth? What does a day in your life look like?
Oh my life has changed so dramatically. It's very exciting. One little piece was, when I was little, I decided I didn't want money because my family money was all about destruction. And so there were times when I lost all my money, and then I realized, oh, these are the subconscious patterns. So I had to go in and rewire them. But now my life, I live in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, which was just recently voted #1 destination city in the world. And it's a profound place to live. It's very exciting. There are lots of other artists here and writers, and it's this beautiful place. So, and I have this amazing casita house with luscious gardens, and so a lot of my day is spent in the garden. And then I walk to town and go to the art museums and the organic markets, and I travel whenever I want. Writing this book, I went to the beach. My editor was living at the beach, so I went and spent 3 weeks at the beach. So I'd work on the book and then go swim and write on the beach and sit in the little cafes on the ocean and have my fish tacos. And so it's just luscious. It's exciting.
That's a perfect word for it. That's totally luscious. And that, I feel like that's the way it can be done, and it is being done by people who are allowing that flow. So,
yeah.
So great.
I travel whenever I want, which is one of my priorities, and I love my life. It's fabulous.
I love your life too. It's awesome. I love my life too, for the record.
That's great.
So tell us more about your book, and tell us how we can work with you.
Okay, so my book, Rewire for Luscious Wealth, Embrace Your Feminine Power, The New Business Paradigm from the Inside Out. That's the full title, but Rewire for Luscious Wealth is the main title. So you can find it on Amazon. You can also find a link on my website, drcynthiamiller.com.
And we'll be sure to include that in, your interview as well, so people can easily click too.
Great. So I also have audios, because a lot of my work about working with the rewiring is I take people inside, like we did in our session, and my voice has the ability to help to unwind the old neural programs and to ignite your star self. So I've been doing this for 30 years of this rewiring, and so I say I know the language of the cells. So it's like I go in and talk to your body. So a very good way to start is to buy the book and then buy some of the audios that take you and help to clear out the old patterns. So some of the old patterns need to be cleared out first, and then you start to ignite more of your star self.
That's awesome. And are the audios, are they meditations, or what are they exactly?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you lay down. A lot of people like to get in bed under the covers or lay down on the couch and listen to them. And you don't have to do a thing. You just lay there, and the audios guide you through a meditation. And a lot of times your mind might be going somewhere else, and that's just fine, because they're working on a very deep subconscious level.
That is awesome. Can I listen to them before I go to sleep at night?
Yes, a lot of people listen to them before they go to sleep. A lot of people fall asleep listening to them.
Yeah.
And it still is working, because the levels we're working on are not necessarily the conscious levels. So, yeah, people have tremendous results doing that. And every time they listen, it's like they hear something different that, the audio hasn't changed, but their consciousness is moving in different places. So they're hearing different things as different things are reprogramming.
That's great. Well, we'll be sure to include links to that too, because I know I will be purchasing those, for one. I mean, it's like we're always evolving and growing, right? And there's always the next stage to take it to. And it's like you just said, your consciousness evolves, and so you hear different things.
Yes.
And what I love about the idea of listening to that before bed or first thing in the morning is before bed, we're about to go into this 8 hours, if we're lucky, of, unconscious kind of assimilating whatever's been going on. And so it's almost like putting a nice, powerful intention into that sleep time. Or doing that first thing in the morning sounds like a great way to start the day, maybe on our morning walks or something like that.
It is. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Good.
Okay, so Cynthia, tell us, I know that we're wrapping up our time together, so what action steps can the business heroines who are tuning in today take, starting today, to start rewiring themselves for wealth, luscious wealth?
Luscious wealth. So number one is to commit to yourself. So a lot of times we have all these external expectations of what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to be. And so you want to start connecting into your divine feminine, into your belly, and really make a commitment to your own self. So that's number one. So number two is to say yes to what you want. So we've been programmed sometimes that we aren't allowed to really have what we really want. So start saying yes to what you want. And number three is to give yourself permission to be rich. Start to just verbally giving yourself permission, because that's another area that we have a lot of old programs that we really aren't allowed to have money. And in many parts of the world, women aren't allowed to have money. So it's a very deep subconscious program. So the third is to give yourself permission to be rich. And the fourth is to buy my book.
Yeah.
Fire for Luscious Wealth. And my book will tell you how to do all those. Plus, it's got a massive amount of information for you. And as you read it, your whole brain will start to rewire just by reading the words and by focusing on the photos.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm so happy that I feel like I've been saying this lately, but I really mean it from my heart. Like, I'm so happy that you exist and that you're here for us, and that you're stepping into what you're meant to be doing and sharing that gift with us, because that is what changes the world. Rewiring women to be stepping into all of our own power and living in an abundant world and putting our own gifts forward in a bigger way. Like, that is huge. It's really shifting mass consciousness and shifting a whole paradigm of what's possible. And so I'm just genuinely appreciative of you, and thank you for showing up for us, the Business Heroine audience.
Thank you. Yeah, my true wish is for all of your women to become wealthy, because I see that as a whole way of changing global consciousness. And I've been hunting for my whole life, since I was really little, of how to change global consciousness, and I'm seeing that it's the women entrepreneurs. So I'm very excited to be here with you today and to be reaching your audience, and just wishing everyone, blessing everyone with wealth to change the world. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, tuning in. We will see you next time, and we'll see you at businessheroinemagazine.com. We have tons of awesome interviews and articles and amazing people like Dr. Cynthia Miller. And grab her book, grab her audios, and let's all get lusciously wealthy together.
All right. Yay.
Right. Bye.
Thank you.
You have been watching Business Heroine TV for the entrepreneur who says she will and does. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to check out what's new at businessheroinemagazine.com today.